Salam everyone, and welcome to episode number 8. This week, once again, I am joined by the wonderful Sayyid Mohammedhassan Alsheraa, who I feel like is taking over my podcast series. No, I'm kidding. I was the one who got in touch after the last successful podcast on Mutah marriages. I got in touch with people on Instagram. I messaged, I put a post, and I said, look, if you guys have any questions or anything else that you wanted to ask on this topic, then let me know. Because of the high number of views on the last one, and yeah, many people got in touch with so many questions and comments, and so I quickly went back to the site and I said, look, I need to have you on once again. Can you come on? And thank you so much for accepting to come on, Sayyid, and taking up your time to answer some more questions.
My pleasure. I also believe that due to the relevancy and the controversial nature of this discussion we had last time, it was able to gravitate a lot of attention and a lot of views. These are topics that are rarely addressed due to many reasons, but alhamdulillah, I believe by the grace of Allah and the blessings of the Ahlul Bayt, we were able to shed some light on this understudied topic.
Yeah. Okay, so before we dive in to the questions, last time unfortunately you were close, but you failed the Scottish challenge. So I'm going to ask you, do you want to have a second attempt, or would you rather just not go there again?
I mean, you're just going to have another failure at this very challenging test. But lay it on me. Let's do it.
Remember, if you fail this, that's two failures, and I don't think you're going to be popular amongst the Scottish community here. But you want to go for it? Let's do it. Okay. So the phrase is, "Nae danger, Power Ranger."
So I think I got the last part, but
I can help you out here because I want someone to pass, right? So you're in a conversation, you say something, and the other person says, "Nae danger, Power Ranger."
I think they're describing Power Rangers as being very dangerous people. Is that it?
Oh my God.
I don't know.
No, you are unfortunately so far off again. "Nae danger, Power Ranger" just simply means no way. Like, that didn't happen, no way.
Well, that's that.
Right, let's just quickly move on. Let's just quickly move on. Let's just quickly move on. Okay. So I got, like I said, a lot of questions on this topic, and I've picked around 15. Some were repeated, so I made sure that I asked that one. So I apologise to anyone who did ask a question and we didn't have time to discuss it. Inshallah, you might hear your answer from our discussion, but if I didn't pick your question, then I apologise. There were many, and these were the ones that were kind of repeated from more than one person. So I apologise. But Sayyid, shall we crack on with question number one?
Go.
Okay, let's go. So question 1. I'm needing to tell my wife that I want to do Mutah with another girl and I'm needing to tell my wife that I want to do Mutah with another girl, and getting acceptance from my wife will never happen. So why is this a rule? Is there another way? Can I change marja? So can I change taqleed to someone who doesn't require my wife's acceptance? If not, how would you recommend one explaining this concept to his wife if he wants to practice Mutah?
My recommendation to this brother, and with all due respect, would be to grow up and honor the blessing of having a partner who was willing to become your wife in the first place. People strive on a daily basis to find a potential spouse, and this person wanting to be with somebody else, even at his wife's disapproval, is abhorrent. Now, there are examples where there could be a benefit in establishing a temporary marriage, either a last resort to avoid falling to haram, or marrying somebody temporarily with conditions prohibiting intimacy in order to get to know them more before marrying them permanently, and so on and so forth. Otherwise, if your wife doesn't approve, then she doesn't approve. This is somebody who's left her family to protect you, to raise your children. And if the grandest, most senior scholar of our century, Ayatollah Sistani, says you need to get her permission first, then who are we to contest this?
Yeah. Right, okay. Question number 2. Can a girl ask a guy to do Mutah, or does the guy need to ask first? It seems like Mutah is a thing for guys who need to have sex.
Yeah.
Girls' emotions are rarely discussed.
Yeah, this is a two-part question that we'll need to address exclusively. In regards to the permissibility of a girl initiating a temporary marriage, or any marriage for that matter, then there is no law nor divine injunction stipulating that a man has to be the one who proposes first. Women can too, and we take this example from the first and greatest wife of the Holy Prophet. Now, to address the latter part of the question, I've personally heard stories of negligent, delinquent, and pathetic young guys who take advantage of women in the name of halal temporary marriage. Even if you've conducted everything accordingly, reciting the vows in Arabic, specifying a dowry, the outside conditions may have been met, but the inside conditions are just as important. Comprehension, emotions, complete bilateral approval. If the other side doesn't know and hasn't agreed totally in what they're getting themselves into, then this relationship is both broken and haram. Mr. Smooth needs to remember that if this is her first relationship, then you've got to get her dad's permission. And I don't think the dad or whoever the guardian is will approve after he realizes it's both temporary and your reputation is zilch. Secondly, if you've entered a relationship accordingly, you've gotten permission and every condition is met, there's still one golden word you have to keep in mind at all times. Consent, consent, consent. Be it permanent, temporary, periodic, you cannot do anything with another person without having their approval first. And having their approval means they understand what they're getting themselves into when they said yes. Not their knowledge was limited and then they said yes. That's like going to pray, but you don't know why you're praying or who exactly you're praying to. What are the results of prayer? There's no proper intention. You have limited knowledge on the matter and someone told you, let's do this, and you agreed. This would be haram, and the person doing this will be held accountable on the Day of Judgment for both exploiting others and harming the reputation of Islam.
Yeah, Sant, well said. Okay, moving on to question 3. I'm a Muslim and I want to do Mut'ah with a girl who lives with her parents. She is independent, but she lives with them. Do I still need their acceptance, as in her parents' acceptance?
Right. A person is not independent if they depend on their parents for shelter. And we're talking about somebody who's never been married or experienced what marriage has to offer. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I think, I don't know, it just seems like maybe nowadays this parent accepting thing just, maybe in Western culture, maybe just isn't a thing really. Maybe they view it as a thing of the past. But, I mean, Islamically, you know, this is still something that is important, right? This is not something
Definitely.
that you can say is just, you know, the culture, or nowadays people don't do it. This is
No, definitely. At the end of the day, this is somebody's child that they put their blood, sweat, and tears into raising, and all of a sudden someone comes and just wants to take them. You have to get the permission of the person who raised them, their guardian, the father, whoever that is. But if the person is dependent on them, then you need to get their permission. If not, they're independent, meaning they have their own salary, they do not rely on their parents whatsoever, then this person will be considered independent from anybody, and they can make their own choices for themselves. Yeah. Otherwise, you have to get the guardian's permission and approval.
Yeah, sure. Right, okay. The next one, actually, this I can't tell you how many times this question was asked.
What is it?
But does the Mut'ah contract need to be, I guess, said in Arabic?
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, does it have to be?
Okay. Like prayer, marriage is a sacred institution and must have its introductory intentions made in Arabic. So yes.
It has to be in Arabic, so the guy or the girl would have to pronounce everything in...
Yeah, the response needs to be, I agree, in the Arabic, and the person... So the introductory intentions have to be made in Arabic. The niyyah, that needs to be announced, and what's going to be said. The mahar, all that has to be recited in Arabic, yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Number 5. And unfortunately, I've heard this, but yeah, let's hear your take on it.
Sure.
So, is it haram for a guy to just live their whole life doing Mut'ah marriages?
Whoa, man, these questions are very interesting. They are. I mean, some guys are barely living on permanent marriages. How do you live on temporary ones? I don't know how this could be. I mean, I don't know how this could be possible, but hypothetically, assuming everything's done perfectly, it's not a sin, but probably reprehensible. But everybody's circumstances are different, and we'd need more information as to why this would be a reality to provide a more relevant answer.
Yeah. It sounds like this person just likes the idea of Mut'ah marriages and doesn't want to, don't know, maybe deal with, not complications, but the whole commitment, let's say, of permanent marriage, and they just want to take a shortcut. I don't know, that's what it sounds like. But anyways, moving on. Question 6. I tried to get married permanently, but I had no luck. How do I know that Mut'ah is right for me?
This sounds like a TV advertisement for prescription drugs. Ask your doctor if this is right for you.
No, can I just say, sorry dear, say just quickly before
Go ahead,
your answer. I mean, I'm just looking at this question right now, reading it. I tried to get married permanently but had no luck. I mean, I'll give you, for example, a family friend.
Sure.
And I can give you many, but just a close family friend who I think they spent I'm sure it was 4 or 5 years trying to find a wife, and they traveled and they saw this girl, and it got close to everything, then it didn't work, and then someone else and traveled, and my mom was going, and it was going on for 4 or 5 years, and I guess some people maybe have spent even longer. But sometimes I think, and from what I've heard from young people and young guys getting married, young girls getting married, it seems like, I tried, and you're asking, okay, well, what happened? What was your strategy or something? And it seems like, I asked her out, maybe she said no, oh well, everything is not working out for me, or maybe I spent 2 months and it didn't quite work. And I don't know, it seems like there's not a lot of effort or struggle or a big commitment, okay, tried, but what did you try? What strategies? Did you really go for it, or did you just maybe send a text or something? So I don't know, just your take on that before maybe answering the question.
I think there definitely is a proper way to go by approaching and finding a potential spouse. The traditional ways of having a family member approach another family member still work. Otherwise, a friend approaches another friend for you, which is exactly how our beloved Prophet ﷺ was married to Sayyidah Khadija, or got married to her. She had a friend approach the Prophet and the circle with him, and that's how they were able to indirectly communicate, followed by initiating a marriage. I think this is still very much possible, but that requires its whole entire discussion. What are the best ways? We could probably have later in the future as to how somebody can find a spouse in a 21st century society. If the traditional, the aunt goes and visits the house, they sit with tea, doesn't really get practiced as much as it used to. There are still ways, there are still approaches. However, what I will say regarding this question, this is what I'll say. There are approximately 3,776,000,000 other men if you're a woman, and 3,710,000,000, give or take, other women if you're a man. The Quran says, أَلَمْ تَكُنْ أَرْضُ اللَّهِ وَاسِعَةً فَتُهَاجِرُ فِيهَا. Was Allah's earth not spacious enough for you to travel in it? I'm sure there's one other person willing to make you their life partner, but you have to put effort, because you'll have a harder time responding to this question. He's asking, how do I know mut'ah is right for me if I've been failing getting into a permanent marriage? You'll have to put effort, because you will have a harder time finding a permanent relationship if you're known for engaging in temporary ones for petty reasons. Be persistent, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless you with a spouse who will remain with you through thick and thin, inshallah.
Inshallah. Ahsant. Yeah, well said. Okay, moving on. I
really like these questions, by the way. They're very, straightforward.
Yeah, it took me a long time to go through every single one, but had to pick them all out. Okay, moving on. Number 7. Okay, this is quite. You might need to take some time for this, but
sure.
I got a girl pregnant through Mutah marriage. What should I do? I don't want the child as I'm married.
Yeah, this is I don't know why this would be a very hard to answer question, because we're talking another person's life here.
Yeah.
You have to provide and be there as a father to your child for the, wait for it, rest of your life.
Yeah.
The child is considered legitimate, assuming the marriage was done legitimately. And you don't have to love the child's mother. Behave as regular parents, divorced parents would. But never abandon your baby. That's both illegal and haram. And it's really bad if it's both illegal and haram. In fact, be happy that you have another child. And maybe the only reason you get into heaven is because you weren't negligent in a situation you initially had a hard time accepting. Yeah.
Ahsanti. I mean, yeah, again, just reading that and hearing you say that, the rest of your life, and it's a serious thing, I would really just, if I take a few seconds to say
own
that,
up to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to own up to it.
Yeah, and it's such an important, like you said, a life-changing thing, this Mutah marriage. It's beyond belief how people decide to abuse it when there are such, not consequences, consequences that you will have to deal with the rest of your life. So,
and these ramifications, sorry Mustafa,
No.
These ramifications should have been taken into consideration before you decided to be in a relationship with somebody. And if this is the result, it's not the end of the world. But now you have another responsibility. And as I said, this could be the only reason some people get into heaven. They weren't negligent, they weren't negligent at all in a situation they initially had a hard time accepting. I didn't want this to be the case, but because it is, maybe this is a test. لَعَلَّهُ خَيْرٌ. Of course it is khair. It's a blessing from Allah, and own up to it. At the end of the day, this is your kid. This is your own flesh and bone, blood. And that's the responsibility. You have to provide and be there for the rest of your life for this child. Yeah, it's your son.
Yeah, ahsant. Yeah, well said.
Or daughter. Yeah.
Or daughter, yeah. Okay, well said. Question number 8. Majority of these questions I think were from guys, but
good. Let's remove some of the stereotypes. Let's go.
Okay. I asked a girl to do mut'ah, and she doesn't really care what it is. She said it's useless, just simply uttering some words. I'm guessing the fact that he's maybe trying to say to her, you need to do or say X, Y, and Z. So she's saying just uttering some words, can I still do it with her?
No, it wouldn't work for a permanent relationship, and it won't for a temporary one. Both sides have to take this concept, which Allah has allowed, seriously. Yeah.
Yeah, Ahsant, simple as that.
Pretty much,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, question 9. Can I do mut'ah with a prostitute? Is this haram?
Our scholars are of the opinion that you cannot, because this type of person will likely not observe the iddah, the waiting period post-divorce, which is 3 months. If this is their form of employment, then they're most likely to get into another, sort of relationship immediately afterwards. So, we're told no.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I mean, sometimes it's good, I think, people ask such questions, but again, sometimes you look at that and you think, like, really? Come on, like, bro. Come on, you
all
can
of
do
this
better
needs
than this,
to...
come on. But I guess it's a legitimate question, sorry, and of course it's...
It is legitimate, because someone looks at an opportunistic moment. This person is practically living on this act. Why can't I just do it? But do it through what I believe is a halal way. Our ulama have given their 2 cents on this subject. No, you can't, because this person will likely not observe the iddah, the 3 months after a divorce, until she is allowed to get married again. And for that reason, no, you can't. Not with this type of person.
Okay, question 10. I think this is a good question, actually. Why does she have to be people of the book? There are many girls who are atheists where I live. What can I do? And I guess a girl can ask this question for a guy as well, saying that there are many guys who are atheists.
Right.
But it's a guy asking, many girls who are atheists
right.
where I live.
People of the book. Christians, Jews, Abrahamic way. Why does she have to be people of the book? Well, because we subscribe to a school that states we can only marry those who give God his bare bone minimum right of at least recognizing his existence properly. And unless you live on Atheist Island, I'm sure there's some believers of God where you live. Otherwise, قُلْ سِيحُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ, travel.
Yeah. Okay, Ahsant. Question 11. Can divorced women do mut'ah?
Yeah, why not? I don't see any reason why not. Yeah.
Okay, all good. Question 12. How is it possible to have mut'ah with someone then just forget them after a period of time? That's never going to happen. You know what? That's a good actual question. I forgot. That's a good question.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I haven't forgotten my elementary school friends. I don't know how you would forget somebody you were married to at one point.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, this person's question is based on the perception that what you're doing is a shameful way to fulfill your desires. First of all, for many men and women, it's a last resort for avoiding falling into haram. Millions of people in the West, particularly celebrities and icons, have temporary relationships, sometimes polygamous, multiple at the same time, and nobody bats an eye. In fact, they're praised and called players or whatever. But whenever a Muslim who's been having trouble finding a permanent solution wants to avoid immoral ways of satisfying their desires, like committing adultery or self-pleasure, by instituting something which Allah has sanctioned if conditions are met, it's apparently the most shameful thing ever. We have to remove this perception and not let bad examples be the barometer as to how we look at things. Yeah,
Sant, well said. Okay, moving on. What is a dowry? Is it that serious? I explained mut'ah to a girl and she agreed to it. isn't that enough?
I see. So the dowry, or the mahar, is an obligatory payment in the form of money or possessions paid by the groom at the time of marriage, and it is specified in the marriage contract. And it's a requirement for many reasons. For example, it establishes the bride's financial independence from her parents, and also to support her in the unfortunate event of her husband's death, let's say. However, it can be any amount, and so long as there's real value to it. And the short answer as to why it's required is because the Quran and Ahlul Bayt said so.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yep.
Good. And I just have two, in fact one more, but one just final one from myself.
Sure.
But second last one. I did Mutah with a girl for a few weeks and I left her. She wants to continue, but I don't. She keeps texting me. How should I end it so she stops? And to be fair, I remember this question being asked a number of times by different people. It seems to be a popular thing. I just want to end it.
So he was involved with somebody, and after it reached its end, the other person is still interested in staying in touch? Is that what
Yeah, she wants to continue, but I don't.
Look, I think
she keeps texting me.
Yeah, I think this person should just grow up, to be honest. Own up to the situation, speak. Perhaps there's an issue that unfolded. Talk to them. If not, block. I don't know. This is a problem that you could solve by yourself. You should have considered all of these things, and most of these questions are done with the perspective of you do it and you leave and you'll never ever see each other ever again. Like the last question, how do you just do this and forget somebody? And then this question, how is it that this person still wants to talk to me, they're still texting me? Okay, just block them. But I hope this was done legitimately, because if it was, you would have understood each other that here's a time period, here's a place, and after things are finished, they're finished. If they still want to continue and you're not interested, just tell them no. I mean, they're not going to force you. I think this person just should own up to the situation, address their concern. Probably a problem may have unfolded, so just deal with your own situation, and only that will give you relief. No other answer.
Yeah,
just that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm no one. I don't want to be judgmental, but I think just like you said, understanding something, both parties, before you go into it, a bit of maturity, I guess, and
exactly
taken in should be enough to deal with maybe these issues of texting and I don't want to, whatever. Anyways,
yeah, I mean, his complaint, not to cut you off, is just they won't stop texting me. Okay, block them. I don't know, but I feel like if they keep trying to get your attention, perhaps look into the matter. What if there was a problem? What if something went unexpected? So just own up to the situation. If not, bad until you entered this way of living. Address it accordingly. That's it. I really don't know what else to say.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, ahsant, yeah. Okay, final one just from me, and we've reached our time of 30 minutes.
Okay.
So just final one from me. I mean, I don't know, just generally speaking, I don't know if I mentioned this before in the last podcast, but you do get a general negative vibe from this Mutah word. And what I wanted to ask you was, I mean, have you heard of, let's say, positive instances? You travel, you see different people in different communities. I mean, just from your maybe research and travel and just from your time speaking to different people, have you heard of a positive experience where this has actually helped this guy or helped this girl, and it's been a successful temporary marriage?
Yeah, it seems to be the case that only the bad situations get magnified. But of course there are plenty. We discussed about this guy in our last discussion, who after the tragedy of ISIS, there was a plethora of widows who didn't have anybody, to tend to their needs, and all he did was take them into his home. But to provide convenience for them and for himself, he married them, all of them, and then he stipulated in the marriage contract that we're not going to get into physical contact whatsoever, and that's it. So he just has extra people living in this house like this. Otherwise, if you're not living in a war-torn country and you're married, remembering the first question again, and you want to establish a second side relationship, if your wife doesn't approve, she doesn't approve. Pretty much you have to honor that. But if there's a cause, if there's a benefit, for example, I know a brother who has reached out to me regarding his situation, that he has only experienced failure when it came to finding a permanent spouse, because he feels like it jumps in the deep end too quickly. These decisions, you go from not married to married instantly. He says that we're trying to find a way where we can balance before we jump into the deep end and establish a permanent marriage. And we basically stipulated in our contract that we'll just get to know each other temporarily, but in a way where we're able to get closer than we would outside of a permanent marriage. Once we understand each other, get to know each other a bit more, then after the time has passed, we can make our final decision if we're interested in continuing this and maintaining this sort of a relationship. And this is widely being practiced in various communities. The brother I'm speaking about is from Brazil, actually. And so he basically says that we took it step by step just to get to know each other on a more personal level with conditions. And then once the time was over, we decided to make our verdict, and that was a permanent relationship after we got to know each other. A quote-unquote engagement period. So there are wonderful examples like these. Other examples of an alternative to avoid falling into haram. Yeah. A last resort, you could say. Otherwise, it usually is the case where the bad examples get magnified, because you do find people take advantage of them, as we discussed earlier. But those people will be held accountable for on the day of judgment for both exploiting others, because I'm 100% confident they did not do things properly, and for tarnishing the image of Islam. People point fingers now. Your way allows prostitution. You guys allow for this. You guys, etc. If things are done properly and accordingly, with mutual consent, with bilateral agreement, then this is just another divine legislation Allah has allowed for humanity in order to ease some of the obstacles that life has to offer.
Ahsant, well said. And I guess that was good to hear that, to finish on a more positive note. And I'm happy for the brother from Brazil who had that story.
It's going to be interesting if he listens to this.
I'm kidding. Of course,
I'm kidding.
Of course, we're not going to share any names. And just as a reminder that all these questions from different people are kept completely confidential. Just as a reminder, and no one will see them again. So thanks to everyone who got in touch and messaged, and thank you once again to the dear Sayyid for taking his time to answer all the questions.
My pleasure. Thank you for setting up these sort of discussions. They're so vital, they're so needed, and someone had to do it. So Jazakallah khair.
Thank you at your service. And inshallah, I don't know if the Sayyid has Instagram yet, but I will tag him on. He's got his Facebook, so give him a follow. Yeah. I don't know what you can do on Facebook now, but give him a follow, and keep in touch, dear Said. Inshallah, when the next ideas come about, I will bother you once again and see if you have some time to share your thoughts and discussions on different topics, or maybe we do Mutah podcast number 3, which I think has never been done. But no, thank you so much once again, and assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.